This message is for vendors, suppliers of American Musical Supply. I apologize in advance that I'm going to make this brief. I'm going to refer you to other videos. I'm exhausted and I've reached the end of my time of useful consciousness, the end of my life, thanks to American Musical Supply. And that's what I want to talk to you about. When I was young, I used to have many of photographs and such of many of your products on my wall, along with so much else. I certainly had them in the magazines. I drooled over Gibson, Fender, Boss pedals, all the different drum manufacturers, synthesizers. I drooled over these things. I never thought I would really have them. So in 2017, when I had the opportunity to join American Musical Supply at their brand new call center in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, that was a real dream come true. Your people came in every week in a cycle and trained us. And I want you to know what a privilege it was and how much fun it was and how incredibly satisfying and thrilling it was for me in particular to go into a room and be with the people who work for Gibson guitars, Fender, these names that I held in such high esteem for decades, since I was a child, and of course the new ones that have come along since then, PreSonus and Rhodes and just so many others, QSC. It was such a privilege to be able to sell your products, and I did. I sold them well. Even though I was customer service, I won the customer service sales award pretty much every week or every month. I introduced people to your products who didn't know about your products. I sold them because I loved them myself and I knew them intimately. I knew them well. When your trainers would come into our Eden Prairie office, which was that large building on the hill, that very beautiful, serene office building, I was one of the first people, one of the first 8 or so employees they had there. When we opened that place, there were no other businesses in the building. We had it all to ourselves, and it was fun. Since we were the first ones there, we more or less established what the corporate culture is like there. And what it was what your people saw. For me, the single most sociable, happy, friendly, accommodating office I've ever worked in. Just filled with people with extraordinary talent. You're just in awe of your coworkers. And everyone's having fun together, working towards something that they all love. It was wonderful. And I think your trainers probably, I don't know. I don't know what it's like when you go to Sweetwater or somewhere else. Ask your trainers. Ask them what they think of it. But I would think when they go there to our Eden Prairie office at American Musical Supply, they probably think this is an awfully nice place. And these people look pretty happy. The bad thing is that there was always a dark cloud hanging over that building that you don't see, that your trainers don't see. That dark cloud comes from the New Jersey home office. It was the only oppressive thing we had to deal with. It was terrible. It was terrible. And it ruined something so good like that office. These people made us do things that are unethical, questionable, dubious morality and legality. Your trainers didn't see that, and that's fine. But you, as the companies, don't work with the call center. You work with the home office in New Jersey. Sarah, I don't have a choice here. I have to either let my nose run right in front of you, or I have to dig out some toilet paper and blow my nose. Because I live outside now. Thanks to American Musical Supply. And very soon I will be dying outside. Thanks to American Musical Supply. That's the company that you deal with directly. There's no reason going into my story in any detail here. I have the whole YouTube channel that explains that. I invite you to watch, in particular, my closing argument. The video that is called Murder Victim Leaves Behind Closing Argument for His Killer's Trial. His killers are American Musical Supply. I also would invite you to watch a video. You'll find a link in the description to this video on my other channel, The American Homeless Holocaust, the music studio that American Musical Supply destroyed, that I spent 18 years building and never even got to use it. Who you choose to do business with is a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of who you are as a business or a corporate entity, and it's a reflection of who you are as the individual people who comprise that business. Who you choose to do business with is a direct reflection of that. I call my other channel The American Homeless Holocaust for a reason. My grandparents fled the Holocaust, and I've studied the Holocaust my whole life. The Holocaust was very bad. It was not good. It was very bad. There were many companies who kept the Holocaust going and made it possible. The most famous of which, of course, would be IG Farben, who supplied the Zyklon gas for the gas chambers, but also the Mengele Company, which not only helped during the war and during the Holocaust, but kept Joseph Mengele alive when he fled, and he got away with what he did at Auschwitz for the rest of his life until he died of natural causes at an old age. The Mengele Company did that. The people who chose to do business with IG Farben and with the Mengele Company reveal something about their own characters, who they are, what kinds of people they are, and what kinds of businesses they operate when they chose to do business with those places. American Musical Supply is a perpetrator of the American Homeless Holocaust. I leave it to you to look up my videos to see what that means. I refer you to one video in particular. It's called What is a Holocaust? Holocaust Defined. You may be shocked at the similarities between what is happening to America's homeless people and what happened in Europe almost a century ago. As I worked for 7 years at American Musical Supply and established myself as one of their very best employees, rock solid, reliable, by all metrics of a business. Performance reviews, coaching, supervisor, manager's opinions, definitely customer opinions, and even many of your people when they came in, and I took extra time to talk to them to give them ideas for marketing or product development ideas and such. Because I cared about your businesses as much as I did about ours. Not exactly the kind of person you want to easily get rid of from any competent company, and yet American Musical Supply fired me with no fanfare, just locked the doors on me one day. Never spoke to me, never accused me of doing anything wrong, never gave me a reason. Now, of course, they had a lame pretense for it. Again, watch my videos, watch my closing argument. You'll figure that one out right away. It's very transparent. Why would a company do that? Well, the whole time I worked at American Musical Supply, and I did such extraordinary work for them and for you, as I was introducing, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, countless people to your products. In many cases, because I used your products. I had bought your products for my own studio. And if I see something I like, I'm going to tell people about it. I'm going to sell. And the reason I did so well as a salesperson isn't because I'm a salesperson. I'm a terrible salesperson. It's because I really loved these products. And that came across to the customer. I used the products. And I've lost them all, thanks to American Musical Supply. The whole time I demonstrated that kind of high performance, I was homeless. I lived in my car. American Musical Supply did not know about that until I had worked there for 5.5 years. And from the moment they found out, the hostility filled the air. It's like swimming through peanut butter. It took them 1.5 years, but they finally found that lame pretense to get rid of their homeless employee. You're talking about a company, and your trainers will be able to verify this. Just ask them. Call them in, set them down and say, hey, when you go to Eden Prairie, what do you see demographically in the call center people that you're training? Because here's what you're going to see. Out of about 60, 70 people in that office, and you've got some others who work at home, you've got maybe 2 black people, 2 Hispanics, 1 Asian. If they were aware of our ages, they would have noticed that the older people were disappearing, and what they ended up with was young white people. How do you feel about that, Pioneer, with all your DJ and hip-hop gear that you sell? How about it, Newmark? Young white people. I started making music when I was 3 years old. I'm 58 now. The depth and breadth of experience I had with music in all of its forms, watching all these great bands of the 70s rise and fall, and eventually, even now, watching these people I grew up with dying of old age, studying music, learning many different instruments, being in drum and bugle corps, even when I worked at the planetarium as an undergraduate, I did a laser light show to the music of Rush. Music has been an integral part of me. It's literally in my blood. That's a phrase that people use, but music is in me. And again, that came across to customers. I wasn't just someone who played an instrument and answered phones at a call center. They were talking to a real musician, the real deal. Lives, breathes, and sleeps music. If you're going to be selling products to hip-hop artists and rap artists and all of the artists, we got so many calls from the islands, wouldn't you think there would be a bit more representation of the people who comprise those subcultures other than young white people? See, American Musical Supply just doesn't seem to like people who are different. And I'm telling you right now, nobody is more different in America today than homeless people. We are completely disenfranchised from American society. That's why I have been homeless for 10 years now. I was working a plan to get myself out of it. I was building that home studio. I was going to move into a home of my choosing, and I was going to use that music studio to operate a plethora of profit centers. that would make me perfectly financially stable, even if I lost my job, doing something I love for the rest of my life. And I was almost there. I'd put in 7 years at American Musical Supply. I had maybe 2, maybe 3 years left, which from right now would be about 1 year from now. And they took it all away when they fired their homeless employee. And here's the thing. They knew that this is what would happen if they fired me. They knew it because I had told them on several occasions. They knew it. And common sense just tells you that. It doesn't take a great leap of intellect to figure out that a homeless person losing a professional office job is going to be absolutely catastrophic, especially when they live in a disabled car, which American Musical Supply knew. My question to you is this. If they would do what they did to me, which is Holocaust level pain and suffering, inflicted out of sheer hatred, just bile, blood-spitting hatred. If they would do that to one of their own employees and hurt their own company in the process, and if the people who are above human resources that did this to me don't even take action against that human resource department and say, what you just did puts our entire company and all of its employees at risk, just so you could fulfill some personal vendetta against some class of citizen that you hate or some individual that you hate. You hurt us, and you helped our competition in the process. None of that happened. They just hurt me, and that's it. And they did it in the shadows. They staged the crime, and they tried to cover it up after the fact. You will see in my videos. My question is this. What is going to happen to you when the chips are down for you? You've got a company that doesn't like anybody who's different, anybody who has an issue, a problem, a challenge that they have to overcome that others don't. I'm not aware of any disabled people there. I don't recall anyone in a wheelchair or with a limp or anything. Just, it's the Aryan race. That's who worked there. So when you encounter problems like the supply chain issues that have happened over the last several years, or another pandemic shuts down your factories, or something that you can't even foresee, and as competent business people, you know that those things can come out of nowhere, just like COVID did in the supply chain issue. It could happen internally. If you have an active owner of your company, someone like Bob Taylor, I believe he's retired now, but when he was running the company, what if he had died? What if he had gotten ALS, some disease that was going to take him out? That's a huge transition for the company, and things are going to change dramatically to keep that company alive. You don't know when it's coming, but it's going to put a lot of stress on your company. You're going to have to make decisions, and you might end up having trouble meeting the terms of your obligations, your contractual obligations with, say, the music stores who sell your products. When that kind of thing happens, do you want to deal with a store that is understanding and compassionate and that seeks a mutual benefit that benefits them and you and keeps you alive, especially if you are a Gibson or a Fender? Do you want a company that looks at a brand name like Gibson the way I do and says, there's no way we're going to let this company fail? It's an American institution. We're not going to allow it. Wouldn't you want that? I want you to know right now that what you've got with American Musical Supply is a company that if they see something different about you, you're on their list and you're going down. And you can come to them and say, we've got some problems here with our contractual obligations, and you try to negotiate something with them. I want you to remember, if that happens, when that comes up, I want you to remember what you're seeing right now, which is a man who is dying. At least 20 years younger than he should have, because they murdered me. Because there was something different about me, and they don't like anything that's different. Anything that's out of the ordinary, what they consider ordinary. Who you do business with, Who you choose to do business with is a reflection of who you are. But it can also have an unintended serious consequence on who your company becomes. If you're doing business with someone who, at a future time, under a different set of circumstances, might somehow find it in their twisted mind beneficial to harm you, or even to destroy you. What if your president says the wrong thing, something that they don't like on a YouTube video? These people keep this kind of boiling hatred festering beneath them. They don't let it out. They don't communicate. They didn't even let us communicate with each other. Divide and conquer. What if he says the wrong thing or she says the wrong thing? Are they going to tell you that? No, they're going to carry it with them. And once they have the opportunity to hurt you, because that's what they do, they will. For the sake of your employees, for the sake of your wonderful products that I love so much, for the sake of you and your families, for the sake of all the people you employ who feed their families, take heed of what I am saying. If you think this is a disgruntled employee who got fired, you got another thing coming. And I've got 1.5 years worth of videos that demonstrate that. There's a big problem in New Jersey. And whether you know it or not, you're mixed up in it right now. And you've got to decide what you're going to do to protect yourself and the people you care about, and to protect those brand names. What you choose to do with that is entirely up to you. You may do absolutely nothing and keep going the way you are. You may choose to do something different. But if I did not tell you who you're doing business with, you can't choose who you do business with, because you don't know. I didn't know I was dealing with that kind of evil. Now I do. Sorry about that. I had to change the camera battery. And ironically, I turned on my MP3 player again while I was doing all that, and it was playing Michael Franti's song Yell Fire. And the last phrase I heard before I turned that thing off was, "And you never ever ever make a deal with the devil." Talk about serendipity. I want to end this by just talking about some of your products. Again, it was such a privilege to be able to sell your products. And even more of a privilege to own so many of your products for my studio that never happened and never will now. Fender. Your Paramount acoustic guitar with the custom case. I had the mahogany. You only sold it through us for about 3 months. I don't know why. It's absolute work of art. Go look on the American Homeless Holocaust channel. I shouldn't tell you this because I sang it and that was a mistake. I'm not a singer, but I played Led Zeppelin's Friends, you know, with the alternate tuning on that Paramount inside the car that I lived in at the time. I don't have a car to live in anymore. That's why I'm gonna die. The police took my car away. That's what homeless people deal with off camera. You don't see that. American Musical Supply knew all about it because I had told them. But they did this to me anyway. That Paramount guitar was a work of art. I loved that. I'm not a person who loves things either. I never had furniture. I didn't buy a lot of knickknacks, or if I did, they were something really rare from a garage sale or a thrift shop. I'm not into stuff, even though I had a lot of stuff. It's because everything I had was functional. It served a purpose. That guitar was magnificent. And Fender, your amplification was the core of my music studio's amplifiers. I had the full set of M80 solid state amplifiers. I had the rack unit, the combo, 12-inch combo, and the head. On the combo, I had ripped off all of that gray AstroTurf and refinished it with stain, and it was gorgeous. And I'd planned to do it with the rack case and the head as well. Those amplifiers were my secret weapon. And believe it or not, I played the head through a Roland 4x4 cabinet. like their street cubes. Only it's an old cabinet that they made, probably 30 years old now. It was my secret weapon. The sound I got out of that was unbelievable. You could amplify anything through it, not just guitars. It was my secret weapon. It was going to make my studio have its own unique sound that was extraordinary. And it's all gone now, thanks to American Musical Supply. Fender, if you look through that video on the studio I lost, look at how many Squier guitars I lost. The Starcaster, the Telecaster, just everything. I loved your products, and you have no idea how badly I was waiting to get a Fender Stratocaster. I have wanted that since I was a kid, since I saw Exit Stage Left on MTV. And I saw Alex Lifeson up there wearing his red sport coat and playing that white Stratocaster. I have wanted that Stratocaster. Keep in mind, I haven't had any family in 30 years, more than 30 years now. Way back then, 35 years ago or so, when I got married to the woman I loved and still do, not knowing I'd lose her only a few years later, she had always promised me that she was going to get me that Fender Stratocaster. And she would have. But thanks to American Musical Supply, I couldn't even get it for myself. Schecter. I'm old enough to remember The Who when they put out brand new albums like Quadrophenia, or specifically It's Hard, their final album. I watched them play Eminence Front on MTV, and I looked at that beautiful Telecaster, and I just knew something was special about it. I had no idea that was a Schecter parts guitar. You're selling it now. Do you know how badly I was waiting to get that and add that to my collection? How badly I wanted that guitar? But I sold it to other people in the meantime, people who had never heard of it, didn't know the history of it, and I would point out, I'd say, go to this video, watch them playing Eminence Front in this video, and they're like, oh wow. I sold a lot of your guitars that way. My 7-string, the only 7-string I've ever enjoyed playing, ever, was a Schecter C7. Natural wood. It was beautiful. Gibson, the first thing I did when I got this job, because I was about to go out into the wilderness, just like now, 10 years ago, and die, because there's nothing else I can do. There's no way a homeless person can survive. And I got this miracle job at American Musical Supply, or what I thought was a miracle. And if it had just been the Eden Prairie office, it would have been a miracle, but this damned portal to hell in New Jersey ruined everything. First thing I got was a Gibson Tribute Honeyburst. I had a Gibson Les Paul. A Gibson Les Paul. Something I'd wanted my whole life. And it just sat there in storage, and I took care of it, and I kept it properly humidified, and it just sounded better to me every year as that wood aged for the 7 years I worked there before they destroyed everything. Magnificent guitar. Novation. Right before I got fired by these people, for my birthday I bought myself a Mini Nova. I have wanted that synthesizer for so long. I've had the Korg Micro Korg several times throughout my life, throughout its long, long history, but I've always wanted a Mini Nova as well. I finally bought one. And Zoom. I had a lot of your products, and at the same time I bought the CDR70 or MS70 CDR, the blue pedal with the modulation. And I got that specifically to use, I mean, with guitar, but also with the synthesizers. Do you have any idea, Zoom, how many of that particular pedal I sold to customers who'd never heard of it, knew nothing about it? Because I knew that thing inside out and backwards. I had studied this for so many years. I knew exactly what I wanted for my studio. That's what I was going to use to modulate synthesizers in particular. I sold so many of those. I sold so many of the Mini Novas, for that matter. And the Korg Microkorgs. Korg, my gosh, how many things did I have from you? I had so many Korg products. I had a Micro X in the original orange chainsaw case. Of course, the Microkorg, which still is my favorite synthesizer ever. Golly, I can't even remember. This is embarrassing. I can't remember. Go look at my video on the studio I lost. I had so many Korg products. I think Korg products have just been, they just have a special warm place in my heart. They're just so unique and fantastic. I still have your software for the Microkorg and everything else, but I can't play it because I lost all my MIDI control. I lost everything. I lost absolutely everything I acquired over a 58-year life, thanks to American Musical Supply. Arturia, your keyboard was the main MIDI controller and the other ones. I mean, going back to Korg, I had your Air 61 wireless keyboard, MIDI controller. But Arturia, the software core of my home studio was your V collection. And I got the Mark II keyboard. That beautiful, big, heavy thing that has the same key bed as your Matrix Brute. But I also had two of the Arturia Minis, the Generation 1 and the second generation. And I had a Micro, the little orange one with the built-in USB cable. My MIDI controllers were Arturia. The software core of my home music studio was Arturia. The modeling you've done on those products are just absolutely amazing. I mean, how else would I get my hands on a CMI? Can't even remember what they're called now. CMI, right? CMV? The original sampler back there. I remember in the early 80s watching PBS and such, and you would see videos of, like, I think it was either Thomas Dolby or Gary Newman playing with one of those, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. I mean, knew about sampling before most people did because of that. And the ability to find, I mean, I was playing with the Prophet model that you have one time, and here comes the intro to Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes, which is just one of those iconic synthesizer sounds that I grew up with in the 80s. I was maybe 13 years old when that song came out, something like that, 13, 14, 15. That tone is embedded in my blood. And with that Arturia product, I just played it. I played it myself. Do you have any idea how much I loved your products? Arturia, you are amazing. Kuasa, I was one of your original customers, long before American Musical Supply even knew that you existed. I wouldn't be surprised if they only knew that you existed because I told them about it. I doubt it, because they didn't listen to a word that I said when I tried to tell them about things like this, but I had your products before most people. If you go look at the records, go look me up. In your account, I'm probably one of your first first customers. I had all your pedals up until the time I got nuked. They're fantastic. And you added that 360 board for putting them all together in a single board. Do you have any idea, even as I worked at American Musical Supply and we didn't sell your products, I would still tell people about Kuasa products. Go check these out online. We don't sell them, but I can vouch for them. These are fantastic. I mean, just all of you vendors out there, you don't have any idea Not just how much I sold your products, but with what passion I sold them. That's why the customers always wanted to praise me to supervisors, and they always asked for a survey system so they could praise me. And they would say things on the phone like, I hope they're listening into your calls because I want them to give you a raise. It's because of this passion I have, the real love. My coworkers that they kept, they just sit there, they keep the customer on the phone for 7 minutes, take their money, and hang up. I share my love of music with them, and I share my love of how music is produced using your products with them. The customers love me because of that. And I loved working with them because of that. The idea of being able to introduce somebody to the Zoom pedals, incredibly programmable things, to introduce them to what an EBow is, or a hat trick even for their drum set. Just being able to suggest these things they didn't know anything about. It was so much fun. It was wonderful. Tama. When I was a kid, I had a terrible drum set. It had brass cymbals that bent every time you hit them. It was a 4-piece. But that's what I had to try to learn on. This is years before I even knew what rudiments were, so I didn't learn as much as I should have back then. But when we traveled and saw my cousins, I had a very small family, only a couple cousins, but one of them was about 4 years older than me, and he played drums, and he had a drum set like Neil Peart's, and it was a Tama kit, and he had the Iron Cobra, I believe at that time, even then, pedals, bass drum pedals. I have loved Iron Cobras ever since. I'm just trying to go through my mind. Tascam. Oh my gosh, Tascam. How many things? I had your SD, what was it, the SD32? Which again, I had bought very shortly before I got fired. Never got to use it. Zoom, going back to Zoom, I had your R8 digital recorder. That's what I was going to use to record bands on site or to record when I did wedding videos, because I had a video studio as well. All gone now. Never even got to use them. I got to go out and build the custom cases for them and nurture them and take care of them, but they're gone. But Tascam, I mean, going all the way back to the 80s when I was using reel-to-reel tape when I worked at the planetarium, for example. And we did the Laser Light Show for Rush. I did the whole thing. So we had the soundtrack on 2 channels. That was I believe a TIAC. What, 456, I think? That sound is so special to me. I can hear that sound of that tape. So when I went out and got tape warmers for my digital studio, my home studio, and I'm buying these plugins that simulate tape players, I'm looking for Tascam, TIAC products, 456 and such. Because it takes me back to a wonderful place 30, 40 years ago. My coworkers didn't know a fraction of this stuff about the products they sell. I loved them. They're great musicians and they were great to work with, but they were young people. They didn't grow up like I did through essentially the whole music industry after the bands established a music industry in the 60s. I did. I had that knowledge, and American Musical Supply let it go. Hatred was more important than keeping that employee. This is the passion that you're hearing now, that I sold these products to customers who never heard of your products. Taylor. I went through Taylor University, learned about all your products. Wow. If you can believe it, I actually worked a couple doors down from your factory on Friendship Drive for years, and I never even knew it. I played in a band there in San Diego when I lived there. And one of the other bands that I really enjoyed, Hector, played guitar in there. He's one of your luthiers. I never even knew that the Taylor Guitar Factory was a few doors down from us. If I had, I would have taken a tour. But I took the Taylor University courses, and you sent me a free GS Mini. And I went out and bought an SKB hard case for it. What a stunning guitar. I got that for free for going through that effort of learning. And then I went and I sold your products at American Musical Supply with a passion. How many GS Minis did I sell? I could attest to how great it was. I had one. How many GS Minis did I sell? And how many GS Minis have not been sold at American Musical Supply since they threw me out because of that? I don't even know where to go. Boss, look at my video on the studio I lost. I had, geez, close to 30 pedals. Many of those were Boss pedals. Not all of them, but many of them. There's a reason why you're the top of the heap when it comes to guitar pedals. You make fantastic, reliable pedals. You always have. There's just so many brands. I mean, there's hundreds of brands I could rattle off here. And I wish I could, because I want to thank you. If you're watching this video in particular, if you're doing that for me, I wish I could return the favor by telling my experience with all of these. The best guitar I ever had out of all those, I had 31 guitars when they killed me. They're all gone now. The only guitar I have is a broken down old Peavey parlor guitar that probably cost $60 in the first place. My first amplifier was a Peavey Backstage Plus. I could stand on it while I played. The thing was built like a tank. That's when I was trying to learn to play like Eddie Van Halen with my Yamaha guitar, another vendor whose products we sold. Back when I was 16 years old. All I have left is that beat up little parlor guitar that won't stay in tune, the bridge is lifting. But it's a fantastic guitar. I've had it for years. I played it in the car all the time. I love that thing. But I can't really use it. All my guitars are gone. But the last guitar I got, again, a couple of months before I got fired, I had looked for this guitar for 10 years. It was a Charvel Desolation. The single cut with the blue. The compound radius neck. This thing was a whole different universe of guitar. Best guitar I ever had. I got to keep it for a couple months, and then I had to sell it for pennies on the dollar. I had the other Charvel Desolation, the double cut, red one. That one someone had modded with passive pickups. Do you have any idea how much I loved these instruments? The World instruments I had, Seagull, not, sorry Seagull, I love your instruments. Oh boy, do I love your instruments. Art and Luthrie, but I was thinking in my mind of something else. It was a Merlin. Did Seagull make the Merlin? I think you did, didn't you? That little dulcimer. I think you sold it in C and G. I believe I had the G. That thing was, oh my gosh, that just added so much flavor when you record it yourself instead. You know, sometimes you just want to get away from sampling and have the real thing. And what did I record it with? My microphone locker. I've never had a microphone locker in my life, but over the last 7 years I accumulated one. What did I have in there? I had a Rode NT1. Rode just came out of nowhere and took the world by storm with these fantastic microphones. I had AKG D7, the Shure SM58, of course. The Lewitt, the Pure 440. Quietest mic I've ever heard in my life. That Lewitt was amazing. And of course the one that's so special to me, having grown up when I did. I remember, I was old enough to remember when I saw on TV, I'm watching TV, and on the news it comes out that Elvis had died. The Elvis mic. That big honking thing that looks so much like the microphone that Johnny Carson had sitting on his desk. You know, the fake mic, because they used the boom mics above, but that one he had sitting on his desk, it wasn't that, but it looked kind of like it. The Shure Super 55. Do you know how long I've wanted a Shure Super 55? And I got the black one. the limited edition black one. And it's gone now. They're all gone. The Rhodes gone, the Lewitt's gone, everything's gone. Thanks to American Musical Supply, a music store they call themselves. I loved these instruments. I built custom cases for each of those microphones. I built them. The custom cases for those. With everything for cables and pop filters, the windscreens, shock mount, everything. All gone. It's all gone. Everything's gone. Everything. Everything's gone. I mean, there's just so many products from so many brands that I had. Latin percussion. I had your bongos. I'm a drummer. Geez, I can't even remember. It's been a year and a half. It took 5 months to lose all of that. That cost me tens of thousands of dollars to acquire those over 18 years. And in 5 months, it's all gone. And I never even got to use it. Because I was a homeless guy working a plan and being patient. Moving toward an American dream. Being patient. Willing to wait a decade if I had to. Acquiring these things while I can, while I'm working for a music store. And then setting up the studio and finally getting to use all these things and having one of the best home recording studios anyone will see everywhere. I was going to have another YouTube channel. I have so many YouTube channels. I was going to have another one about how I put this studio together and what I did with it. And in the back, I was going to display all these wonderful bits of swag that your trainers gave us when they came and trained us. About the only thing I have left from all of that is a Gibson pen that has a Gibson SG for the clip. But you gave us hats. I had, 15, 20 hats probably. T-shirts. Can't even count how many T-shirts I had. Some of those were so cool. So cool. My keychain is an ESP keychain. My water bottle here. My coffee mug. ESP. All the swag you gave me. Roland, you were so generous. You gave all of us in the call center, you asked what our shoe size was, and you sent us a pair of tennis shoes to the color scheme of your TRS drum machine. And I had to sell it to a pawn shop because of American Musical Supply. I was going to have all those things displayed in the back of my studio for the world to see when I got that channel rolling. And they're all gone. I had to trade these things for food. Just to stay alive this long. Let me apologize to all the vendors out there whose names I didn't mention. That doesn't mean I'm disrespecting you or that I'm leaving you out. There's just so many of them that I loved, including the ones that no longer sold through us. When I first started working in American Musical Supply, Behringer and all of the Music Tribe brands were still selling through all the stores. So we sold Behringer and TC Electronics and things like that. The TC Electronics Nova Reverb, to me, is still the best reverb ever made. Dan Electro. Your wah pedal was the Dan Electro wah, the Dano wah, the one that looks like a 57 Chevy. I had the red one. I had several Dan Electro pedals. My 7-band EQ was a Fish and Chips. Your stuff is extraordinary. I love your products. And we didn't even sell them. We sold the Fish and Chips for a while, but we didn't really sell Dano products for very long in American Musical Supply. I wanted to get a U2 so badly. So to the vendors of American Musical Supply, I'm just here to tell you, I'm here to give you the information you need to make a wise decision. That's what American Musical Supply deprived me of. They refused to provide me with the information I needed to make I need complete, sufficient, and accurate information to make a wise decision. They deliberately deprived me of that so that I couldn't make a wise decision. I was stuck in a no-win situation. And they did that deliberately. And based on their behavior that I witnessed over 7 years, I can assure you that at least the odds are that they're keeping you in the dark about certain things that you really need to know about to make wise decisions. What those are, I don't know. But that's the pattern of behavior they established. If they would destroy the life of one of their very best employees, who is probably the best, quote, musician they had, not in terms of playing instruments well, but in terms of having music in me, and music gear, and music theory, and this passion for music and lyrics and anything associated with music, history of music, going back to ancient times, harps, the Psalms. If they would let that person go in such a violent manner and kill him, knowing that that's what they're doing, what will they do to you when the chips are down for you and you can't meet your obligations, or you say something that they don't like? Because people like that, when you say something they don't like, it sticks in them forever. Took them 1.5 years, but they got rid of me. They got rid of their homeless employee. If they just waited 3 years, I wouldn't have been homeless anymore. Because I worked my ass off to make sure that that would happen. And they took it all away. What are they going to take from you when you need them the most? They did not sit down with me and talk to me. They didn't even talk to me at all. They just locked the doors on me. A 7-year employee in great standing, no disciplinary history. What are they going to do to you when the chips are down? What are you going to do when you need special terms, or you can't meet your obligations and you need to renegotiate something with them? What are they going to do? They might do it here, they might do it there, but what about the next time? How do you know when you're dealing with a company that stabs people in the back? How do you know where you're going to stand? How do you protect yourself and your company and your families and your employees and your employees' families and your customers? Nothing is sadder than seeing a great music brand disappear, like Dan Electro did. And sometimes they get brought back to life. Charvel, sometimes they get brought back to life, but not always. I don't want to see your brands disappear. But this company is ruthless enough to do something to you that could single-handedly hurt you badly. I'm not saying they will. I can't see the future. I'm not saying they'll ever do a single nasty thing to you. I don't know. I'm just saying, watch your back. Because I am the living proof, I am the dying proof for that matter, that they will stick a knife in people's backs. And they'll do it in the shadows, in the quiet, and they'll hand you a piece of paper and tell you to sign this paper, which promises that you're not going to tell the world. They handed me a paper like that. They offered me some hush money and blood money. Sign this paper, we'll give you some money, homeless person. This is what'll keep you alive since we just killed you. But you have to sign this paper first that says you can't tell anyone what we did to you. I told them to keep their hush money and their blood money, and I gave up that money so that I could tell you this. And I've suffered because I didn't take that money. But now I can tell you about this, and I am telling you about this. Again, what you do with it is entirely up to you. But if you're a responsible business owner and business person, and my background's in business as much as anything else, especially, ironically, business ethics, if you can believe it, something that's completely absent in this company. If you want to run your companies well and keep it going on and on and on into the next decades and even into the next century, if you want to do that, if you want American institutions to last, or all these great brands that are outside America, like Kuasa in Indonesia, Arturia in France, I mean, if you, there's so many, Nord. If you want these brands to endure, you cannot put yourself in a position where you're even at risk of having someone come in and stab you in the back. I'm here to tell you that I am proof that this company will do that, that they are capable of it, that they are willing, and they will do it with all the compassion of a serial killer. Take that information and do with it what you will. But save yourselves. Save yourselves. Nobody saved me, and I'm preparing to die because of it. I'm out here freezing to death in the cold. Save yourselves. Thank you for making the great products that you did. Thank you for what you did. I know it's been tough for many of you. When I look at what Moog went through shortly before I got fired, I see these companies face obstacles. They get bought and sold. They get bought by conglomerates. Gibson took on all these brands, and things changed and morphed. The original DAW I used to use, Cakewalk, Sonar, all these things change and morph over time. And it's interesting to watch, but I hate to see these brands get diluted. I hate to see them lose the quality and the specialness that they once had. And I certainly hate to see those brands die and those companies close their doors. You've got to protect yourself. You live on a tight margin as it is. This isn't something that's sold to everybody at Walmart. It's a very specific group of people you sell to. And I know it's difficult. It's very difficult business management when you're working in something like the music industry. That's why you have to protect yourself against any credible threat. I'm warning you about a credible threat. But again, do with it what you will. You make the decisions for your company. If you want to stick with them and roll the dice, that's your decision. It may never come back to haunt you. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying that I put my life in these people's hands, and they took my life. What will they do with you?